No amount of training can prepare you for this. It's time for a radio beatdown. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. This is the Ultimate Fight Show, your source for all things MMA. Now, let the damage begin.
It's the Ultimate Fight Show live on 740 The Game, brought to you by Tiger Martial Arts, PokerVT.com, and Social Menace. I'm your host, Dave, and I'm joined by the man with the iron chin, Sensei Phil. Tonight, we have Strikeforce lightweight champion Josh Thompson live on the show. We have your up-to-the-minute MMA news of the week, and we're going to discuss the recent controversy with the judging in MMA. We're going to play MMA trivia with all kinds of cool prizes, so if you want to play, the number is 407-916-8255 or toll-free 1-800-729-8255. You can actually play against Strikeforce lightweight champion Josh Thompson on the trivia tonight. So if you beat him, you can win prizes. Before we get into that, though, our first guest on the Ultimate Fight Show is no stranger to controversy. You might love him, you might not, but one thing you can't deny is that this man has the coolest name in MMA. His name is War Machine.
War Machine's cut real bad. He's bleeding all over his face again. As he rains blows down on War Machine, he is just battering War Machine now. This might be it. He is battering him. They are chanting War Machine here at the Pearl. This is one of the bloodiest fights we've seen in a long time. Both these guys are coated. War Machine throwing some bombs. Oh, big shots on top by War Machine. Big elbows. Now War Machine trying to finish the fight. Oh, he switches him. Look at that. And he's mounted. J-Rock's in big trouble. War Machine over his head. It is all over. What a turnaround. John Copenhaver wins. What a fight. Man, he was exhausted. War Machine was so tired on the bottom, but he got that opportunity, came up with that extra reserve of energy, and put J-Rock away.
War Machine, welcome to the Ultimate Fight Show on 740 The Game. What's going on, man?
How's it going, man?
What you up to?
Not much, man. Just running some errands and just doing my normal day stuff.
I hear you. Now, on the Ultimate Fighter, Team Hughes versus Team Sarah, you fought Tommy Spear, attempting a rear naked choke. But with the amount of blood that was dripping on you guys, you couldn't tighten the hold enough to make Spear tap. Of course, that ended up going to a decision that he won, but that was real controversial because it did appear to everyone watching that fight that Spear did tap. Did you think he tapped as well?
No, I mean, in the fight, I didn't think so.
I mean, when you watched it again, didn't it look like he tapped? I remember that.
Yeah, to me, it looked like he decided he wanted to, he started to, and then he changed his mind real quick. You know, it was kind of like a half tap, you know. So I don't really count it. You know, I don't. You know,
yeah.
I don't mind, but whatever. You know. It was
I guess you're right. I guess the rule is they have to tap 3 times. So I guess it really wasn't that controversial.
Yeah, I know. You know, he won. I didn't perform very well. And
now, in your official, now I have to disagree with you on that though. You did perform real well. I thought you looked real good during that fight. In your official UFC debut, you defeated Jared Rollins in the finale show by a TKO, and that was one of the most brutal wars in the UFC. You both received that $25,000 fight for the night. Do you think that was your toughest fight yet?
Yeah, I mean that was a very tough fight, and it was a hard fight, and you know I grew a lot from that one, and yeah, that's one of my best fights for sure.
Well, man, we've all seen your ups. We've all seen your downs. You made it onto the Ultimate Fighter TV show. You had one of the best fights in UFC history, in my opinion, against Jared Rollins. You ended up with a 10-fight contract with the UFC. Shortly after that, you were cut by the UFC because you ended up butting heads with matchmaker Joe Silva. You ended up declining a fight that I guess he had lined up for you. And they used the reason that they cut you. They said it was because you had made disrespectful comments about Evan Tanner after his death. So I guess my first question is, I wanted you to clear up because I've read some of your blogs. So I want you to clear up what you meant by those comments to Evan Tanner.
Yeah, well, you know, I posted those comments really in defense of Evan Tanner and more to criticize the UFC and the way they treat their fighters. You know, I was never in any way, shape, or form trying to criticize Evan because, you know, he's a great guy and he's one of the pioneers, and he's a great fighter. But I pretty much just said that no one knew why he died yet, and they said he went out for a camping trip in the middle of the desert by himself and didn't bring adequate supplies, and he was lost. So I went ahead, and I think a lot of people agree with me. They thought that maybe he killed himself, because and I went on to say that I thought that he was a fighter at the end of his rope, and he lost his last fight. He knew there was no time for no chance for a comeback, to win the belt again, and UFC never took care of him, never paid him enough. So I thought maybe he was depressed and he killed himself,
Yeah, and it didn't really sound disrespectful toward Evan Tanner. It sounded like you were kind of aiming at the UFC with that. Do you feel like they actually cut you because of the fact that you didn't take the fight? Do you think they were just using that as an excuse?
Well, after I fought J-Rock, I was then next offered Matt Arroyo, and I said yes. Then a few weeks later, they said, all right, that fight's off. And they said, how about Brandon Wolf? I said no because, wait a minute. No. After J-Rock, they offered me Yoshida. I took the fight. I lost. Then my third fight was going to be against Matt Arroyo. They changed it to Brandon Wolf. I said I didn't want to fight Brandon Wolf because I didn't know who he was. I know the fans didn't know who he was. And I called around and I hear he's really tough. So I said, hey, if I want to fight someone tough, I said, give me Josh Berkman or Dustin Hazlitt. Give me someone we know with a name. And Joe Silva took it as, who do you think you are? Like, trying to request who you can fight. Like, he has an ego.
Yeah.
So we got an argument about that. And then maybe a week after that was when I made the Evan Tanner comments. And then they released me. But, Dana White told me, I talked to Dana White on the phone. He told me I was released because, I'm working for the UFC, and I made comments against the UFC. So he's like, dude, you gave me no choice. I have to, pretty much discipline. You know what I mean? So,
right. Yeah, man. And Brandon Wolf was Ben Saunders went on to destroy Brandon Wolf. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, Ben Saunders was on your season, right?
He's my boy. He's cool as hell.
Yeah, he is. He's from right here in Orlando too. We had him on last week.
Yeah, he's cool.
So looking back, do you kind of wish that you would have been more careful with your postings, with your opinions on your blog, or do you kind of stand by them today?
The only reason why I would ever regret anything I've said is because of money, and that's the only reason why. And money is not everything, So, I don't regret it. I still think the UFC did Evan Tanner wrong and do most of their fighters wrong, and I still think that he went out there to not come back, and I think it's a sad thing, and I think that, I'm not going to take back anything I say, I meant it at the time, I mean it now.
Now, with that being said about the UFC kind of treating their fighters wrong, what do you think are some of the pros and cons to fighting in organizations outside of the UFC?
Well,
I've heard as far as contract terms and even, that you even get paid more outside of the UFC. Do you find that to be true?
Yeah, well, if you're not Chuck Liddell or one of those top guys, you're definitely going to make more in different organizations. Bottom line. The guys that aren't the headliners in the UFC aren't paid, anything. And then, if you're with the UFC, you can't fight anywhere else. They can, dude, if somebody wants to sponsor you, if ABC company or whatever wants to sponsor you and give you $100,000 per fight, and the UFC has to approve it. If the UFC says no, then you can't have a sponsor. So they control every aspect. And so if you're not the best guy, not the top guy, you're definitely better off not in the UFC.
Well, outside of the UFC, what other organization do you feel is going to be breathing down their back in the near future? Do they really have any true competition out there right now because of the size of the organization?
They never will have competition. They're like I don't know, man. It's like tap out, like people that don't know MMA. The sport is called UFC,
Right.
It's like